today. My name is Bo. I'm the reviews lady here on Talk to the Hand Reviews. Today I would like to talk to you about one of my favorite flowers, the sweet pea. It's one of the most heavenly smells. It's one of the most heavenly fragrances. And the first time I ever smelled one, I remember I had this friend who lived in Seattle, and I went to visit him, and I stayed with him for a little bit. He was just a friend, not a boyfriend. And he didn't have a car. He got everywhere walking or taking the public transportation, and we'd go out clubbing together, and we'd go do stuff. And in order to get to and from where he lived to everything, we had to walk past this really nice upscale residential area. And I walked past this area, and the smell, this fragrance hit me like, hard. And I was like, I turned back, and I was like, what is that? What is that? What is that? What is that? And I found low growing on a little, I think it was a low black wrought iron fence. It wasn't even that tall. Sweet peas. I didn't know what they were then. I just knew, wow, that's amazing. I gotta find out what that is. And I didn't find out for years and years and years. I just thought, wow, that flower really smells amazing. But that is what this is. And it has such a fresh, feminine, sweet, inviting smell. And if you see, and they don't really like to grow in Southern California, which is where I'm from. I'm from California. I lived most of my life in Southern California before I moved to Canada with my husband, who's Canadian. But they don't really grow in they don't really grow in Southern California. So I hadn't really, or they're not common. I think it's just too hot. They like the weather to be a little bit cooler. So it seems natural that this would be a choice for fragrance, So, and it is. But since I have these growing in my garden from a pack of seeds, I actually grew these. These are not wildflowers for me personally. Maybe they are somewhere, but so, but I only had like 8 of them outside, and so I took 3. And I thought, it's my chance to do a video about sweet pea flowers and sweet pea fragrances and show the flowers. So anyhow, there it is, the sweet pea. Put it here. And by the way, that little thing becomes, after the flower is done, it withers away, and then it reveals this little tiny fuzzy little pea pod thing that is so cute. So it's kind of entertaining to watch the whole series, what happens to the plant. So what I wanted to tell you is, let's see. Okay, here we go. I just went and I just found a number of different sweet pea fragrances, or fragrances that say they have sweet pea notes. I'm not sure with all these fragrances whether the notes are the top notes, the middle notes, or the bottom or the base notes, but they all say that they contain sweet pea to some degree. So here we go. Demeter fragrances, sweet pea. Demeter fragrances, sweet pea. La Perla, Once Upon a Garden. La Perla, Once Upon a Garden. Bath and Body Works, Sweet Pea. Oh, and this is really cool too, because the top of the bottle of this, I think it's the eau de toilette or the eau de parfum. It looks so much like a sweet pea. It looks like my little sweet peas here. It really looks like that at the top of the bottle. I'm sure that I'll show you the bottle because I'm enjoying getting to research all these bottles and then show them to people because I wouldn't really necessarily have known all these fragrances, what their bottles look like, because I'm not really out and about right now in the fragrance world. Not that much. So I don't get to be exposed to that as much as I used to. So anyhow, okay, number 4, Calvin Klein Eternity Flame for women. Calvin Klein Eternity Flame for women. One of my favorite fragrances. And I know you hear me say that a lot, but I'm not kidding. When I say, this is one of my favorite fragrances ever, I am not kidding. I am not lying. Never, ever, ever. But I do have different times in my life where, this is my favorite, and then this is my favorite, and this is my favorite. What I really don't like to only have one fragrance forever. I'll go like where I'll have a signature fragrance, like Paris was my signature fragrance for a while. I wore Paris more than anything. And then I left it for a bit, and then I came back to it for a few years, and then something happened. I know what happened. Every 7 years, your body chemistry changes. I mean, I've heard this, and this is something that makes sense to me. So sometimes fragrances that you like, all of a sudden, they just don't smell good on you anymore. That's what happened to me with Paris, and I had a new bottle. But you know what? I had a really, really good friend who, it was her fragrance, and so I was glad to give her like the really big bottle of it. So that was cool. But yeah. So sorry, how did I get off on that one? Eternity was one of my favorites. Calvin Klein Eternity Flame for women claims to have sweet pea notes. I have not tried it. Have you? If you know about any of these fragrances or any sweet pea fragrances, write down below. Please feel free. Why not? Yeah, it helps me. And yeah, maybe like I have ulterior motives. I want you to like write stuff because, YouTube engagement and all of that. But honestly, isn't it? I think it's interesting. I mean, I'm here with my garden flowers, talking about flowers and the perfumes and stuff. So obviously I'm interested. So if you know of anything sweet pea at all, feel free to write it down below. Okay, Black Phoenix Alchemy Lab Titania or Titania. I'm going to say Titania. Black Phoenix Alchemy Lab Titania. Okay. Then number 6, Fragonard. Fragonard Pois de Senteur. Fragonard Pois de Senteur. I think I can read and hold at the same time. Okay. Oh, and here's one really interesting company that I discovered since I started this channel. A company called Bourbon French Perfumes, and they're in New Orleans, Louisiana, and they have a sweet pea perfume. They claim to have a number of single note fragrances, and I'm really intrigued by their company. But for me, just the shipping to Canada is $40, and just for a little try thing, I mean, I am not made of money yet. As soon as I am, I'm going to rush up. Hello, Bourbon Fragrances. Yes. I'd like to order up like tons and tons and tons of stuff, because go to their website. It's really unusual. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about them. But anyways, Bourbon French Perfumes has a sweet pea fragrance. And they're not available, they're not really all that widely available, but they're very interesting. They've got a lot of popular and interesting stuff. I'd love to try some of their stuff. Number 8, Fragrancia Corporelle. I think that might be just the way they... Pink Sweet Pea Fantasy by Body Fantasies. That's it. Body Fantasies, Pink Sweet Pea Fantasy. Alright, and number 9, Sweet Pea Bouquet from Perfume Studio. Sweet Pea Bouquet from Perfume Studio. And number 10 was a cute bottle. They're all really neat bottles, actually. Every bottle is cool. Even the ones that are kind of plain. Wow, I like those too. What's your favorite bottle? Write down below. What you think? What's your favorite fragrance bottle? What your favorite fragrance or perfume bottle is? Perfume bottles. Let's take a smell break. Time for dancing with flowers. Whee! If you smell sweet peas, you'll want to dance. I can almost guarantee it. Unless you really, really just don't like flowers, don't like things that smell nice, don't like pretty things. And if that's the case, why would you be here? You wouldn't. So, sweet peas. You know, worth planting, worth trying to plant. Even if they maybe don't do that well in your climate, you never know. They might. It's only a seed packet away. Or even, you know, at the garden center sometimes, you know, like in Canada. In Canada, you don't have stuff year round like in Southern California. You can buy anything. You can grow almost anything year round, kind of. I know I'm not completely correct, but... Okay, so I read you all of these fragrances that have sweet pea notes in them. And I tried to think, do I know of a fragrance that has sweet pea notes in it? And do you know what? I have to tell you that one of the reasons that I decided to do the sweet pea video was White Shoulders by Evyan. Oh, it smells so good. This smells more like sweet peas than any other fragrance I know of. There's no sweet pea in the notes that I found, unless there are some and they're not listed, or... But if you want, in my opinion, if you want the general idea, the feeling, the vibe, the feminine, this is a very feminine fragrance. I'm going to do a video on this one too, because the name White Shoulders sounds a little racist. It does, doesn't it? You gotta admit. Sounds a little racist, even to White Shoulders lady here. You know my shoulders are white. I didn't have to show you. But I wouldn't blame people for thinking white shoulders. That sounds racist. But there are a few stories around the naming of this fragrance, White Shoulders, that sort of release it from that racist thing. I have to say, my husband, when I got this one, said, "That's a weird name," you know, and it was kind of cool for him to call it out. I thought that was kind of cool, because this is a fantastic fragrance. It's super feminine. A young girl, you know, people will probably, since this is an older fragrance, people will probably associate this with their great grandmother, because I know it's quite old. But I wore this when I was working behind the counter. This was one of them that we sold behind the counter. This company was generous to us at the Christmas parties. They gave, I remember, I had the whole line. I don't remember exactly what I had, but I'm sorry, I believe I had the whole line. Perfumes, little miniature perfumes, soaps, lotions. And I wore this. I wore this. And you'll hear me say that a lot, but listen, I ain't young. I mean, I'm younger than I'll be tomorrow, and I'm younger than I'll be 10 years from now. But, you know, in terms of like the beauty industry and the fragrance industry, I'm not like a young woman anymore. But I wore this when I was young in my 20s. I wore it a lot. A lot. So, yeah, so, you know, in my opinion, if you're looking for something that smells like sweet peas, and you like the sweet pea flowers, well, you know, I think White Shoulders is a good choice. But try some of these other great ones. Thank you for joining me once again here on Talk to the Hen Reviews. And if you like this kind of content that just basically has to do with fragrances and my stories from when I was younger and I used to work in the cosmetics and fragrance industry, and my reviews of cosmetic products and skincare products, please subscribe and like it if you did. Thanks a lot. Bye! We would like to do a dance.